worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome to Cap or No Cap. I am your host, Kevin C. Meggett. Glad to be back here. I didn't shoot last week because of the outage, the network outage on Facebook and TikTok and Zoom and all of those other things. You know, we were kind of affected a little bit, so kind of missed the show. I miss all of you guys that are around the world. So we back today. We're gonna chop up some good game, like we do. Glad to be here, and I'm glad for Millennium TV for always giving me the opportunity to have this platform to bring real talk and real news to the viewers all around the world. So let me see what's been going on. I just recently lost my great uncle. Rest in peace, Uncle Hollywood, Albert Hollywood Meggett. 90 years old, taught boxing in Charleston to underprivileged kids. For the longest, he worked with some of the greatest people, boxers and celebrities that you could think of, which includes but not limited to Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier. He trained Aaron, the Tumbler Davis. That's if those who know Aaron Superman Davis, that's his father. And I want to try to probably bring them on there and dedicate a segment to my Uncle Hollywood. So I got to go down to Charleston and show my respects and pay my final farewells. And I just hope that God is very pleased with the work that he's done. I'm very proud that he was to have called him my uncle. I'm glad that me and him share a lineage, and now he's my ancestor, and he's looking out for us. So shout out to Hollywood and my whole family, Meggett family down in South Carolina, and I'll be down there soon. What else has been going on? I watched the Wilder Tyson fight. I don't even think there should be a part 4. I mean, both of them should respectfully move on. I kind of just never thought that Deontay Wilder was going to win that fight because he doesn't have too much technique. I wanted him to win. Don't get me wrong. I really wanted him to win. I'm just a realist. I didn't think he was going to win. And, it's pretty much he ran out of conditioning. It comes all down to conditioning. He ran out of gas. And, I could probably bring some politics about boxing because God knows there's a lot of politics in boxing. Maybe I could get Aaron Superman Davis down on the show and see if we could chop up some good game and get his perspective on what boxing is today and what does it mean. What else? I was talking about when I didn't, the other show, when I didn't get a chance to talk about this in the show because I didn't shoot it, but we have all of these Afghanistan people that are coming, that are being sponsored into the country, and they're giving them, Biden administration's giving them $6.5 billion. And here we are, foundational Black Americans. We still don't get anything. Yet another group of people are going to be over prioritized over us. And, they're kind of getting these tangibles and resources in our name. All of this is the 14th Amendment, due process. So here we are now, every other group has experienced the fruit of the 14th Amendment, except for the people it was designed and written for, which are foundational Black Americans. Biden, in my humblest opinion, is no better than Trump. It's a two-headed coin. There's no difference between the Democrats or the Republicans. I've always said the only difference between them is how they practice racism. So shame on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and that administration. They got to put it together because you lied to the people. You were quick to say African Americans are the reason you're in office, and you were going to do something specific for them. But now you prioritizing everyone over them. So y'all a bunch of tricksters, and y'all tricking the people. And shame on you for it. It needs to be said. It needs to be called out. So I watched this movie called "The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain," which I was very familiar with the story. It had to do with a Navy, not a Navy, excuse me, I'm Navy. I'm a Navy veteran. It had to do with a Marine veteran who whose only crime, if you want to call it a crime, was that he accidentally set off his medical alert. They dispatched three racist cops over, and they tormented this poor man. They realized and recognized that he was a veteran, and it held no weight, and shame on the federal government, because the federal government needs to do more to protect our veterans. Immediately, that should have been a federal case. The second he was found that he was a Marine, I don't know if he was in a war, but the second he was a veteran, that should have taken precedent. And long story real short, the movie, I don't want to give too much of it away because I want you to watch it. It was an outstanding movie. They captured, in 2 hours, they captured what happened to him in the 2 hours or the hour and 40 minutes that they dispatched these officers over there in this film. And it's enough to make you angry. It's enough to make you sad. It's enough to make you say, we really, as far as we claim we've come as a people, we really haven't gone that far. We haven't really moved one iota. There's no difference between 1910 and 2021. We haven't moved one iota as a people, because we've owned and controlled the same amount of resources in 1910 that we are controlling now. So, it's just, I'm tired of seeing these reruns of us being mistreated. But I really, after looking at this film, a good friend of mine told me to look at it, and I kind of reached out to a mutual friend who put me in touch with Kenneth Chamberlain Jr., who is the son of the victim of this movie. And I wanted to bring him on the show today to get his perspective of the movie and just kind of really talk about what transpired, everything that transpired back in 2011. So without further ado, Kenneth, are you there, brother?
Yes, I am, brother.
Okay. No, thank you. Thank you so much for being on Cap and No Cap. I really appreciate you. The movie is called The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain. What exactly? Well, I know it inspired the movie because it went ignored. But whatever happened to those police that have that did this heinous crime to this man?
Well, what happened to the police? Absolutely nothing. You did have one officer that was terminated, but they never said he was terminated because it had something to do with the killing of my father. They just said that it was in the best interest of the department that he be removed from service.
Oh, wow. So when I'm trying to understand, the feds didn't even try to pick this up because I thought his civil rights, his federal civil rights, were violated. The feds never looked into this case either.
So the situation was, after my father was killed, the DA at that time, Janet DiFiore, was not in New York State chief judge for the Court of Appeals. She promised a full and fair investigation. In 2012, we came back with no true bill, just like they always do, saying that, after an exhaustive investigation, the grand jury determined that there wasn't sufficient enough evidence to charge any of the officers in the killing of my father. The Department of Justice at that time him picked up the case and said that they were going to investigate it for possible civil rights violations. Now, I thought it would be a slam dunk, seeing that the fact that they called my father the N-word before killing him. But that didn't happen either. Because when they finally came back with this decision, they came back with the decision under the Trump administration, though we definitely didn't get anything from that. In 2016, they originally found for the city in the wrongful death suit that I filed. But last year, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals overturned the decision. So we're back in court now. We're back in federal court. And in the decision, the judges wrote that instead of treating Mr. Chamberlain like a critically ill patient, you treated him like a criminal suspect.
That's and that's the truth. Your father showed a lot of character, and I would like to think that had a lot to do with his Marine training, because it was almost inspirational where he says, "You are not coming in my house," and he was actually quoting the Constitution, and I'm like, I was so angry, you know what I mean? And I watched this movie with my son, and I'm not an emotional person. I'm just not. I'm not really an emotional person at all. And I couldn't help once it got towards the end, like I'm leaking, like I'm just sitting there crying, man. I'm wailing. He's joking around. He says, "You crying?" And I turned around because I'm sitting in a chair similar to the chair that I'm sitting in, and I turned around. And he's laying on the bed, and I'm like, "Yeah, man, this is so sad," And then he actually felt a lot of remorse and empathy, and that's the one thing that I love about the movie, is that because I think as a people, Black people we've seen so many deaths that we've become desensitized. And we lack empathy. And so the creators of that movie did an outstanding job to make me feel what was it like then and there. And then to have his voice played after that, I thought it was just, I'm sitting there, I'm wailing like a baby. The empathy is even greater. So is there anything that we can do as a people that pushes this case forward?
So one of the things that I'm just telling people right now, because we're in pending litigation, there's nothing going on right now. My attorneys are going back and forth with the City of White Plains attorneys. But what I tell people is when we do go to court, I need people to show up.
Okay.
Because you notice whenever you're dealing with situations like this, the police have their unions there, they have all these police officers there, and then it's just me and a few other people on the other side. So it needs to be balanced out. That I want the judge to see that just as many police officers that you have there, you have just as many civilians that are out here too, that are saying, look, we care about this case as well.
And I mean, nothing surprises me when it comes to these type of cases, because I believe I spoke to you on the phone. I was telling you I was with Constant Malcolm with the Ramarley Graham case, and I always thought that was a slam dunk in terms of a federal investigation. Like you kicked this man's door down and you executed him in his bathroom. But the allegory is very similar. They took the door off the hinges. And your father had forget a constitutional right, he had a human right to defend his home. He wasn't a criminal. They were the criminals. And I don't understand how, it's weird because back in, I think it was 2008, I believe it's 2008, a federal memorandum, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, a federal memorandum went out stating from the FBI saying that law enforcement has been compromised, and that hate groups like the Ku Klux Klan and neo-Nazis has infiltrated law enforcement and the military so that they could kill Black people with impunity. And so now when you look at Ramarley Graham, when you look at your dad's case, when you look at Sandra Blake and all of these, you see, you're like, the federal government is not protecting us. And so it's up to us to now protect ourselves. So I work with a lot of veterans, and what I will do, we'll keep in touch offline, is you let me know when there's court dates, but let me know in advance, and I'll galvanize veterans to come, because he is a vet, and we don't leave ours behind. You know what I mean? How did you get this movie started, by the way?
So, for almost a decade now, trying to get people to help me was never an easy task. So I had to be very strategic. So as I tell people, social media was my friend. I would post, ask people to share. And one day I received an inbox from David Medell, who was asking to speak to the family of Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. I told him I'm his son, and we began to talk. And he said that he noticed that this case didn't really get too much attention. And he said he wanted to help me. When I asked him how, he said, I make movies. I want to make a movie about your dad.
I want you to hold on 1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We're getting ready to go to a real quick commercial break. I'm going to come right back, and we're going to be right back with that. I'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
And we're back. Cap or no cap. Got my your host, Kevin C. Meggett. My guest, Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. And this movie he has, The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain. I need everyone to go out and watch that movie. Download it and watch it. But I'm sorry, you were telling me how, before we went to break, how you got this movie premiered, and someone inboxed you, and I think we went into commercial. Can you finish?
Yes. So David Medell inboxed me. He said that he noticed that my father's case hadn't really gotten any national attention, and he wanted to help. I asked him how. He said he makes movies, and he said he wanted to make a movie about my father. So I put him in touch with my attorneys. They sent him, court transcripts and everything. Everything that he received, though, let me just say, is available through Freedom of Information. So he wasn't given any confidential documents or anything like that.
Right.
He did the script. He sent it back to me. I gave the thumbs up, and we began to shoot in Illinois. And he told me, Frankie Faison has come on board to play your father in this movie. And I was excited about that, because I said, Frankie Faison, I said, Coming to America, Frankie Faison? Mm-hmm. They were like, yeah. I said, why Frankie Faison? I said, because, I followed him a lot. So the film was done. Mm-hmm. And then after the film was done, we definitely went to film festivals, and we won several awards: Audience Review, Best Film Narrative, the Jury Awards. We won all of those, but we still didn't have any type of distribution. The movie was sent to Morgan Freeman and Laurie McCreary from Revelations Entertainment, and when they saw it, they came on board as executive producers, and now this is how we were able to get the film out there and on these platforms.
Speaking of platforms, where can viewers view the movie at?
So it's available on iTunes, Amazon Prime, Vudu, YouTube, Vimeo, Xfinity, Cox, Spectrum, all of those, and Microsoft.
Oh, wow.
Go on, you type in The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain.
Pops right up. Mm-hmm. So now the police officers, you said one of them were terminated. Why weren't they charged? They said they weren't charged because they your dad lunged at them with a knife?
Yeah. So, narratives, as you know, are so very important. So one of the first things the White Plains Police did when they killed my father is they put this narrative out there. White Plains Police shoot and kill who they believe to be an emotionally disturbed man after he attacked officers with a hatchet and a butcher's knife. They have that narrative out. The narrative should have said, White Plains Police, while dispatched to do a welfare check, shoot and kill an innocent 68-year-old African-American male. That's what it should have said.
Absolutely. And I get angry because we don't. This is why we, as a people, have to own and control something, because they're able to put this narrative out, and we're not able to counter we can't put a counter narrative out. So what do we start doing? We start picketing, and you know what I mean? But who cares? We need to build an infrastructure. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine, because one of the things that I did do was I put the real narrative out there.
Mm-hmm.
People think, because I didn't have a problem speaking to the media. I guess they believed that, or maybe they thought that no one cared about him,
Mm-hmm.
that no one would stand up and fight for him. And I even remember the day that they killed my father. At the hospital, the police actually surrounded me. And I remember saying to the police officers, the difference between me and other people you've done this to, I said, you're dealing with an intelligent black man. I know how to fight you.
Right.
And they looked me up and down, and one of the officers smiled and said, F you. So, a lot of times people ask me where my motivation comes from. And I said, that's my motivation right there.
Right.
I said, because you're telling me what I can't do, I'm going to show you that I can do it. Right. I'm going to take a system that's not designed for us, that places no value on our life. And I'm going to fight you with that same system, and I'm going to beat you with it.
Absolutely. And it's crazy because I argue this all the time, right? It's not, I think black folks get a little confused. We look for white folks to punish other white folks. It's up to us to punish white folks. I've never seen Jews look for Nazis to punish other Nazis. You dig what I'm saying? It's up. They took the first step. Like we are going to hold you accountable for what you did to us, and we have to take a similar approach with that. You know what I mean? We have to I wholeheartely don't believe I'm gonna wait for someone that does not look like me or culturally attached to me to punish someone else. It's an oxymoron. We need to put ourselves in a position to actually punish people that harm us. And I mean, we just have so much work to do as a people. It's not funny. I thought the movie was outstanding. Actually screening it on October 23rd at Black Veterans for Social Justice in Brooklyn on Willoughby Avenue, and you're gonna have a whole bunch of homeless veterans that are actually coming out to do Q&A with you. The real problem is that America didn't forget America keeping their promise to us. We know she didn't, but these are men and women who have served and fought, and there's homelessness, there's poverty amongst veterans, and no veteran should ever be homeless or impoverished, especially if you served in a war. Like I served in the very first Gulf War, and I struggled, and no veteran should have to struggle. And so I'm honored. I'm honored to have this film actually being screened amongst a lot of people, a lot of veterans, the veteran community, because I want the veteran community to rally around this, in front of this or behind this, because your father was a United States Marine, was he a war vet?
So according to my mother, because people were always asking me this question, and I said, look, I wasn't born.
Right.
So I said,
you don't know.
But I spoke to my mother, and my mother told me that he was in Vietnam originally.
Okay.
And then they moved him from there to Haiti because he was dealing with the Haitian conflict.
Okay.
So he was over there. And then he came home. Once he came home, he joined the Sheriff's Department, which is now the Westchester County Department of Corrections. He was there for 20 years, and then he retired.
Okay. So he served. he served the community in and out of uniforms, you know. So that's outstanding because a lot of I look at the sacrifices like the Dr. Martin Luther King's made, or the Malcolm X's, and the Emmett Tills, and so forth and so on, and I look at a lot of today's youth, and I'm like, man, Malcolm didn't have to die, man. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like we're going backwards, and I'm trying to make progress where we need to go forward. We need to be, held to a certain standard amongst ourselves. And so, I mean, on my behalf, I promise you, I'll definitely come up there, because you shouldn't have to be in a court with 2 or 3 people. We should bring busloads of people in there,
And I'll say this piece, because you mentioned this earlier about our people, our Black people. In White Plains, New York, the majority of my support base is not Black. It's
right.
85% of my support base is white. Out of the Black people that support me, 90% are women and not men.
Oh wow.
I've tried to get the Black men out there with me, but like you said before, I think we've become so desensitized to these types of issues,
right,
that when it happens, we don't really think about it.
Right.
Not realizing that Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. could be you or one of your loved ones.
Yep.
And I keep telling people, don't let it come into your backyard before you begin to act. But we have this attitude or this approach of, it's not my problem until it's my problem.
Right.
And that's what we have to try to.
But it is my, I guess it comes down to upbringing too, because it is my problem, because I don't feel removed from you. You know what I mean? Of course, your pain is felt more because of the direct connection to your father. But I felt that pain. I felt it, you know what I mean? And so it comes down to, I think we got a lot of work to do as a family, as in our race at least, to bring things back to where, and sometimes I argue, I think we're too far gone. I mean, I don't hate anyone. I don't hate white people, because hate is such a wasted emotion. But what I do look at them as my competition. They're my competitors. So even the ones that are, oh man, they support me, they're down for me, they all have a certain amount of privilege that none of them will never give up. I mean, they'll can support you, they'll do whatever, but they'll never say, I'm gonna take my privilege and put that on this scale of justice so we could lobby it and it could balance out. And I'm not mad at them. I probably wouldn't do it either. I just, I'm just saying that we just have work to do. And so anything that I could do on my end, you have my word, I'll do it. And I really don't have a problem treating people the way I want to be treated. But you couldn't do that to a dog. You shouldn't shoot a dog like that. And it was very disrespectful. It was disgusting, and I hope the city of White Plains pay. I in a perfect world, I hope you could bankrupt that whole entire city. But bigger than that, I'm angry with the federal government and the DOJ. What constitutes? I would like to know what constitutes a civil rights violation.
Well, I mean, even bigger than that. What I tell people is that I said, what you witnessed or what happened to my father was a crime against humanity. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't even look at the civil rights violation, and that's defined as a widespread or systemic attack on a civilian or identifiable civilian population. So we see this has been happening to our people forever.
Right.
And the thing is that you can't take the United States to, the international court, because although they help put, that mechanism in place for crimes against humanity, they didn't ratify their signature on it. Mm-hmm. So it's more of a do as I say, not as I do type of situation.
Or I'm white and I say so.
Yeah. And you know, I remember one of my attorneys saying to me, and it kind of broke me down the first time she said it, because we were just leaving a courtroom, and she said to me, she said, you know, your father died being exactly who he was. And I said, what's that? She said, a United States Marine.
He did.
That's how he died.
Yep.
That he held on as long as he could. You know, he fought as hard as he could, and you know, until he couldn't fight anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it broke me down the first time she said it, because I know how my father was, and I know he was a proud Marine, and you know, I know how he felt about service. You know, I often joke with people, because people will ask me, was I in the military? And I say, no. And they say, but you carry yourself like a military man. And I said, well, that's just being around my dad. I said, actually, my father was upset that I didn't go into the Marines. He just knew I was going to be a Marine. So he was really upset with me behind that. But I like to think that, you know, I've made him proud, you know, standing on this front line, because everything that he instilled in me, I'm using now.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you've done an outstanding job, because again, I remember when this crime happened. That's what it is. It's a crime. You know, it's a crime against humanity. And I'm trying to think. There was another gentleman. I think I'm gonna do a Google search or something like that, and look up all of the veterans who were killed by police, because there are a couple of cases like that. I mean,
yeah, there's quite a few.
Yeah.
I know one down in the DMV area. You have India Kager.
Right.
She was a Navy vet.
Right.
Who was killed
at the end? Was that her at the end of the film? Who was the?
No, that was my daughter. She was in the Navy. She passed away 3 years ago in a car accident.
Oh, I'm so
they
sorry.
They dedicated
the film. Oh wow.
To her and my father.
My condolences.
Yeah, she was based out of San Diego.
Okay. That's the branch I was in. We're going to take a real quick commercial break. I'm going to be right back with Cap or No Cap.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV. Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
We're back. Cap or No Cap. I have Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. We're talking about the movie, The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain. So that was your daughter. That's the branch I was in. I'm Navy also. You know, my condolences. I just lost my great uncle. He was Navy as well. So, you know, I come from a tradition of military, mostly Navy, and my family. So, yeah, but there was another gentleman somewhere in Westchester that he was Navy, and they executed this guy right in the middle of the street and just kind of left him there, you know. Yeah, I'm gonna Google that. But you know, I'm glad you're taking the necessary steps. I like to agitate people. So one of the things I plan on doing is starting to perhaps send this to certain people that I know. In fact, I sent it to Congressman Jamal Bowman. He actually may join us in Brooklyn, to be honest with you. He was very interested in, and he was not really familiar with the case. So a lot of people, I was familiar with the case, but a lot of people aren't. So I mean, maybe we could get this moved around to the point where we could get some type of global response to this. America has a horrible history, and she looks like she's such a hypocrite when she goes to and gets on North Korea about their human rights, or China about their human rights, and Iran about their human rights, and look at how they treat us. Look at the violations, and no one calls that out. So they're not in a moral position, as far as I'm concerned, to talk about anyone's human rights when they've been practically disrespected our human rights from the inception of time in this country. And this is what we get for building up the country, I guess. This is payment. We get nothing. Is there? Have you had any kind of other screenings any other places?
Before the movie actually premiered on the 17th, we did one at Pace Law School.
Okay.
I just very recently did one at a high school in Westchester.
Okay.
They showed it to about 150, 100 students at the high school. And another high school is about to do it as well.
Good.
What they're also trying to do is do a HBCU tour as well with it. Hopefully that will actually work out. But right now, like I said, it's being streamed, so you can catch them on those platforms that I mentioned earlier.
That's good. And it's important to actually hit the circuit with it, because what I've learned is word of mouth is the best promotion in the world. It travels so hard. Like if you were to post something in Facebook and say 20 people posted it, or that 20 ends up on the timelines of people that you've never even knew, because your friends has friends. So it's the same concept with word of mouth. Oh, did you see that movie? Because I talk about it all the time now. Like, oh man, you have to see this movie. I'm telling everyone, you have to see this movie. It's just not, you think something like this will happen in a third world country. America sometimes acts like a third world country, and how she treats us as citizens. And then, and then we got to realize, I made this argument all the time. Are we or are we not protected by the Constitution of the United States? I like to think I always say, I point to the fact that we're overly punished by it, but are we protected by it? And depending on who I'm talking to, you get two different answers, yes or no. I, for one, personally don't think we are, and so I for one also think and try to push towards us being sovereign. We need to become. If you're not going to treat us like the 14th Amendment wasn't written for us, it's helped every other group of people, but it hasn't helped the people that it was designed for. Then let's stop. Take all of your civil rights, take all of that, and make us sovereign, just like you made Native Americans, and let us build a reality for ourselves. But they don't want that either, because when the last time we did that, you had a Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we tend to outperform. I don't know. Have you ever seen this movie called White Man's Burden?
Sounds familiar. I can't remember whether or not I've actually seen it.
It's an old movie. It's a movie with John Travolta and oh my gosh, what is his name? Not Sidney Poitier. Oh my gosh. Well, I can't think of the other actor's name, but the movie was really about black folk were privileged and white folk they reversed the roles. You know what I mean? And it was a great movie. It was a great movie in terms of it showed what the roles would look if it was reversed, what it would look like. But bigger than that, what I took away from it is we need to put ourselves in a position where we're actually outperforming our white counterparts. And that's why they don't want us to ever become sovereign. That's why we are so fragmented, because if we start to, we're already marginalized as a people, but if we begin to marginalize ourselves and unify, we're more dangerous than a nuclear bomb. You know, anything else that you do? Like, what do you, prior to getting this movie out, was you going out in the streets and talking about what happened to your father? Were you talking about keeping your foot on their neck, so to speak?
Well, for over a decade now, that's all I've been doing.
Okay.
I may say that I'm consumed,
Doing it.
but that is the only way that I can keep his name out there and make sure that they never forgot or never forget who Kenneth James.
And they shouldn't, you know, like your father. I just see courage. I seen so much bravery in him in that movie. Courageous, you know. It takes a lot for someone to sit there and bang on your door with a gun, and I just the disrespect. Was that your cousin or who was trying to get into the house and talk to him? And the whole disrespect of just, you know, shooing her away like she was nobody. I mean, come on. You know, you have to see this movie, America, Europe, Africa, wherever you are in the world, because we are streamed on all over the world in like 51 countries. And so I don't know who's watching this, but you have to see the killing of Kenneth Chamberlain. It was an outstanding piece. They actually pieced it together very, very well. You have a lot to be proud of, Mr. Chamberlain, keeping your father's memory alive. I would even go as far as naming a street after him, if that's something that you haven't even thought about as of yet. You know, I would keep that. If you want people to remember, you make them remember. Is anything like that in the works that you're trying to do?
Nothing like that right now.
Okay.
The main focus outside of this film right now is all of the stuff that we're dealing with as far as court.
Okay. And so DOJ just basically said there's not enough evidence, right?
But what recently happened was the current DA has decided to take a second look at the case on a local level. So now, let's say she comes back to something criminal. If she does, we can then resubmit to the DOJ and ask them to take another look at it for civil rights violation.
Wow. Okay. You know, we also going to need is a lot of, and I just don't see, I think Amsterdam News is still black owned. We need our own papers to talk about this, you know, because I really don't put my faith in the hands of someone else, or my fate in the hands of someone else that's not really on our the same accord that we're on. We want justice for what they did to your father. And, you know, some people just want it to go away. Well, you know, it goes away when you give us justice, but justice is not given, it's taken. So, you know, like, maybe if you need help galvanizing, you know, I'm here for you in every aspect that I can. Bringing veterans, maybe connecting to writers and bloggers or whatever to keep this actually going. The trailer was very good too, because that's the first thing I saw was the trailer. And then I ordered it off of YouTube, and my son and I watched it. It was a great film. Schools are good. I would also urge you to try to talk to other people, like to get it seen and screened in prisons and stuff like that, because, you know, we have to make a national event out of this in order for it to get the attention it deserves. And I noticed a lot of our stories are now being really quiet. It's, you know, they're not big deals anymore. You know, once upon a time, I can remember watching like Roots or something like that, and I'd go to school. Did you see this? And, you know, it was a big deal. And now when we see even movies today, it's like, no, I didn't see it yet. You know, it's like we're so desensitized as a people. But there's a lot of empathy that came through that movie, And I want to really thank you for your selfless efforts of keeping your father's memory alive. But once you receive justice, maybe you should look into naming a street after him, naming a recreational place after him, something. Keep his memory alive. I just lost my dad, who was a Korean War veteran, and one of the things I love to do is keeping his memory alive. Is I plan on opening. I'm trying to create a SRO, or single room occupancy, for homeless veterans, and I would like to name it after him. I want to, so that institution would be something that would outlive me and even my children. To keep that going and keep the name going. So your father's very worthy, and like I was telling you, I have a Black Veterans Recognition Awards that I do every year. We didn't do it last year because of COVID, but we're going to do it this year, and I'm really considering naming an award after your father based off of his bravery. So for the perpetuity of those awards, someone will receive an award highlighting them and with your father's picture inside of it. I think it was my friend Doug Oliver who reached out to me, and that's how I got in touch with you. So shout out to you, Doug. He's a veteran also. What I would like to also do is probably offline, me and you could get together, and anything that we could do to bring more people and more attention to this, we could do it as a collective. Before we end, is there anything else that you want to say as with respects to this movie?
I just tell people, if nothing else, I want this film to be a teaching tool for law enforcement of what not to do. This is not how you handle situations, especially welfare check. That your job is to diffuse a situation, not create one. And other than that, I always end by saying, may there be accountability for Kenneth Chamblin's and accountability for all families that are impacted by police violence.
I thank you so much for coming. I really want to bring you back. I have a gentleman named Manny Gomez that I would like to bring you back on in the very near future, where we can have a three-way conversation. I think you're going to find him very interesting. But make sure you check out that movie, The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain, on all of these. Just Google it and download it and watch it as a family. And let's get back to being a family again and caring for one another. I want to thank you, Mr. Chamberlain, for coming on. Cap or no cap. And we'll be talking soon, brother.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be back after this commercial break.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
And once again,
we're back. Cap or no cap. I'm your host, Kevin C. Meggett. So, that was a great opportunity to actually get that movie out and critiqued. I need everyone on Facebook. I know we're on Facebook Live. If you're watching me right now, please go see that movie, The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain. It's an outstanding movie, and we need to really kind of figure out how do we hold government accountable. I for one, I just, I really lost all faith in government. I think what we've been doing for the longest is we've been trying to put a square into a circle. It doesn't fit. So we're trying to fit into a system that does not really want us. It never wanted us. It's never going to treat us right. And we need to figure out how to create our own system. But we're just sitting here wanting inclusion, diversity, and tolerance, and we're tolerating, including, and diversifying ourselves out of a picture we rightfully belong in. And I'm speaking to all Black people, but specifically foundational Black Americans, and specifically because we've been in this country only forever, whereas other groups have come in here and assembled. And the American dream is like you could go anywhere. I don't care if you're Vietnamese, I don't care if you gay, I don't care if you Polish, Italian, Chinese, Japanese, Greek, whatever you are, there somewhere in this country there is a place that identifies you. So in other words, there is a Chinatown, there's an Italian town, there's a Polish town, a Vietnam town, a gay town. You know what I mean? Everyone has their own entity, their own city, and when it comes to foundational Black Americans, we don't have that. Skid Row doesn't count as us having our own. That's not our own town, so we got to figure out how do we create a system and learn how to treat all of these other groups of people as competition. We are supposed to compete with these people, and we're not competing. We're consuming everything. So they're selling everything, and we're consuming everything. And so we got to figure this out. I don't sit around and I don't wait for people to give me justice. It's something that we have to be in a position to learn how to take. We have to learn how to take our justice, and just like other groups of people, they don't sit around and wait. They actually galvanize and bring themselves together and creating an agenda, and that's the agenda. And this is how foundational Black Americans have to move. We have to build things, institutions where we can actually teach our children. You go in there, and Louis Farrakhan said, how could you expect America to teach you right when they don't even treat you right? And that made so much sense, So we have to learn to educate our own children, stop begging the job god. We need to create our own jobs, our own economy, and do for self. And it may cost, everyone's saying, oh, we need to vote, we need to vote, we need to vote. Where has that really gotten us? Maybe we need to just not vote and just say, you know what, I'm gonna sit this one out. There's no agenda on the table for us. There's no one running to our agenda. We're gonna sit this one out and let y'all do you whether it's Trump or Biden, you're still getting the same equal treatment. You know what I mean? There's no difference in Joe Biden and Donald Trump. They're the same exact people. In fact, before Donald Trump ran for president, he was friends with all of them. He was friends with Joe Biden. He was friends with Hillary Clinton. So, you're looking at a WWE. They come out here, they perform, and behind closed doors, they all slap back one another. So we're the ones that's sitting around saying we and us, but we won't say we and us for ourselves. We'll say it for the betterment of the country. And we are the actual fiber that's holding this country together. And I'm actually talking about foundational Black Americans. So, I mean, we look at various cities and it's said, oh, well, we're backwards. But I mean, you got the whole South. You got, Virginia. You got Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Louisiana, Texas. And a lot of people, we have to look at the South just a little bit different and figure out how to work with our brothers and sisters in the South to make a better North, because we're not competing. We're being buried. Whatever every other group of people are burying us, and we're not performing. And so I digress. In the future, I want to definitely have future shows. I definitely want to have Manny Gomez on. He's an outstanding talent. Shout out to you, Manny. He actually figures out how to hold these police officers accountable. I had him on Cap or No Cap in the very early stages before the show was actually picked up by Millennium TV. And I think it's time that I bring him back on, and perhaps I could bring Kenneth Chamberlain back on, maybe another person, and we could talk about, maybe I'll reach out to Ramarley Graham's mom, because when we talk about the ills of policing, Ramarley Graham, and if y'all don't know who Ramarley Graham is, Google him. Ramarley Graham was probably, I just knew that was a slam dunk. I mean, they and nothing ever happened, and that happened in my community, and this woman fought for her son, countlessly, as far as she can fight, as far as she could fight and take this. And it was the same allegory where the DOJ said, well, we don't have enough evidence, even though they had a high grade security camera looking at the cops trying to kick in the door. But that wasn't enough evidence. So my thing is, what's the criteria for Department of Justice? And they're a joke. Department of Justice, what's the criteria for you to pick up a case? They used the N-word in Kenneth Chamberlain's several times. They tormented this man. They agitated him. What is the criteria for you to pick up an investigation? Now, if the roles were reversed, and say a foundational black American did something to someone in the LGBTQ community or any other group of people in that community, we would, the burden of proof is, violation. So, I mean, America is not protecting us. She has not lived up to her promise. I think we went so far backwards. I think if Malcolm X and Dr. King, if they were alive today and they were doing what they were doing, and I could have a crystal ball, I would tell them, don't do it. We need you, because we're going so backwards. And as a culture, we glorify gang culture, and that needs to be called out. It's glorified. We're doing this drill music and stuff like that. And, it's a conditioning, but we don't have to fall for the conditioning. So, anyway, next week, I want to definitely bring on another. I want to kind of keep this energy going. I want to bring on another case that's becoming near and dear. This happened out in Queens. I'm just trying to actually out in Queensbridge, out there where Nas is, trying to put the particulars together, where someone was actually murdered and they didn't they're not getting the right type of attention to this case. And so, like, again, when we're denied justice, whereas other groups, justice is swift. And so we have to, one, police ourselves, two, learn to hold people accountable. So that may mean showing up at your city councilman, your state assembly, hold these people accountable. They work for you. You don't work for them. And that's the biggest misconception, is that we now it appears that we work for these politicians. What they'll do every year, they'll give you a turkey or some kind of dinner, and that's their, and we sit there and we glow, oh my God, they're so great. But then you're eating and drinking your money. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We just got to really get it together, family. But I want to bring, and I also want to touch on the hip hop community as well. I want to do a show with that. I was thinking about having, bringing Grand Mixer DXT. For those that don't know who he is the first, he's a turntablist. Um, he actually got a Grammy for a record that he did with Herbie Hancock way before a category called hip hop even exists. And he's gotten 2 more Grammys. I think he scored. He did the scoring for Jimmy Levine or something like that with Dr. Dre. So I want to bring him on the show too, because a lot of our condition is really tied into now what we call music, but I don't even think it's music anymore. I think, it's actually life imitating art, or art imitating life, because, I've never seen music like heavy metal where people are going out and killing each other. I've never seen, R&B where people are actually going out and killing each other. But, this drill and this trap music is getting a little bit too much, and no one's really calling it out. And it's crazy because I like some of the beats. The beats are nice, but it's the vibrations, and you have high vibrations and you got low vibrations. And so I think record executives have figured out a coalition of how to present a record or a song and deliver more hands of our young black men into the hands of the police or into the cemetery. And either way, we're losing. I'm Andy King. He was supposed to come on with me today, but he's actually taking a meeting because he's doing a Stop the Violence rally. So shout out to Mr. King for doing the good work in the community, even though you're not attached to the community as an elected official any longer. But you've always been an elected official because you've never abandoned your community. And so I appreciate you for that. You actually do a lot of fine work, but that's why you were that's why you became an elected official, by doing the fine work and putting in the work. You've worked with those kids. YEP, which is, what's the acronym for YEP? Youth Empowerment Program. For those that don't know, anyone that's living in the 12th district that wants to have their child learn how government works and just be upright, look for Youth Empowerment Program in the 12th district, and that's in Co-op City, Gun Hill, Wakefield area, that type of area up in the Bronx. Around, for all my people that are international around the world, I thank y'all for watching me. I've gotten a few emails from y'all saying, "Hey, you guy from Cap and No Cap?" Yeah, that's me. And actually, the show is actually being viewed because I'll see people in the street like, "You're that guy. I seen you on TV." So I want to thank Millennium TV for giving me this opportunity to actually present a lot of my views, because if it wasn't for Millennium, I would tell you in a heartbeat, I'd probably be laying on a couch telling people, my therapist, my problems. So when people are like, "Oh, I really love your show," I'm like, "Okay, you got mental health too, huh?" But yeah, we want to give you the finest in our shows. I want to bring on I definitely want to touch on the pioneers of hip hop. I want to talk about them. It's interesting to see with their perspective of the music, because it is a culture, but you wouldn't even know that any longer. But I want their perspective on the music as of where it's at now from where it came from. It came from a place where it was back then it was uplifting. It was saying something. It was actually moving people into action. It was moving people into the street. And now it's actually still moving people in the street, but it's not saying too much. I want to get their perspective on it. But I also would like to get the perspective of, say, some of the younger rappers as well too. Maybe looking to bridge that gap, because we're going to have to figure out how to bridge it, because the disconnect is so real, family. But we do live in a system of what we call white supremacy racism. And so if you look at the people that own these record companies, you're looking at probably a half a dozen racist billionaires. And so this is how agendas work. We put this music out, We put it out and say keep it as destructive as humanly possible, and we could reap the benefits. I want to talk to some of these pioneers because they said that there was a letter, this alleged letter, that changed the culture of that ended up changing the culture of rap music. And depending on who you ask, some people would say yes, and some people would say no. I asked Grandmaster Melly Mel, big shout out to Mel, and he said no, because Sylvia Robinson never got that letter. She was never at that meeting, and at that time she was probably one of the biggest people of her heyday. So he doubts that the letter ever existed. But then I asked other people, and they said, yeah, that letter really exists. And and so that's that whole Illuminati stuff. I mean, we subscribe to the dumbest things, and I think that has to be the dumbest thing that anyone could say. Illuminati, like you're afraid to look underneath your bed. Like, give me a break. Like you either you do something or you don't do it, or you do it. You understand what I'm saying? So if your music is really that hot and you got to compromise yourself to have it played, to do something, that you just go independent. If you're hot, you're hot. You can't, if the streets and the people are behind you, who could be against you? But we get caught up in, a lot of things that could or could not be real. But it's not. If it's real, it's the only way it's real is because you gave it the ability to be real. It's the money we have is really not even worth the paper that it's written on. We give it the value. So if we could value something, we could devalue something too. I mean, what are we doing? We have these young kids with all of this money, and there's absolutely no leadership saying, yo, we need to build institutions. We need to build community, So you have a whole bunch of kids have all of this money, and we don't know what to do with it. So I mean, I don't know. I digress. But yeah, I want to bring those kind of shows up. Hip hop. I want to bring more of police brutality because it needs to be talked about. And I want to touch on poverty. We act like America, there's no poverty in America, when in fact, poverty has probably gotten wider and deeper. And what we're doing now is we're warehousing human beings. We're putting people in these shelters, and we're shuffling them around like a deck of cards, and we're warehousing human beings. And so everything, if I don't care where you are in the United States, buildings are being erected. And so they're pricing us out, unfortunately. And so this is why we definitely going to have to learn how to compete, because if they're pricing us out, these buildings are going up, everything's going up, and except your salary, except your opportunities, but you are the author of your book. So you have to, opportunity isn't given, it's taken. I've never seen no one give the mafia anything, but I've seen them take everything, I don't know. So what else I wanted to discuss? Back to the boxing thing. And I'm gonna be real brief. So next Monday, I'm gonna bring Aaron Davis on. I want to talk about the boxing. I want to talk about the politics of boxing and where's that at. But see if I can get him on. If not, we'll probably bring Manny Gomez on and talk about police brutality. He's very interested in what he's doing. But I digress, and I'm wrapping it up. This is Cap and No Cap. We are on Roku. We are on Apple TV. We stream live on all platforms. What is that called? The oh my God, Fire Sticks. I'm sorry.